And we start off with the standard State House rogues. Hatchetmen, they say. President William Ruto clings to them like a leash, or perhaps it's the other way around. Farouk Kibet, his elusive personal aide, and Dennis Itumbi, the cunning, self-styled digital spin doctor, have become inseparable from the president, orbiting his every move with an air of entitlement that rivals co-rulers. Their presence unnerves those around the presidency. Critics dismiss them as mere errand boys, meddling busybodies, or backroom schemers. In a blistering critique, former DP Riggy G goes further, suggesting they are not just aides but something more sinister, masterminds of self-serving schemes veiled by the authority of his state. Note that. Chief propagandist, as quoted by former Deputy Riggy G, where he claims that Itumbi is also not a small man. All the statements you see cabinet secretaries release, even the one by DCI on the Mwiki violence, it's Itumbi who writes them. He crafts, they read. When I was having a private meeting with the president and the president was not comfortable with the subject matter, he used to text Itumbi, who would appear from nowhere and inform the president to leave for another engagement. Ni kama kwambia mtu nipigie sahi unitoe hapa. Nipigie sahi. He says he tried to control me, but I refused and informed them that I had a fully fledged communication department. About Farouk Kibet, he calls him the co-president, and he says, I went and told Ruto that his personal assistant can't give me instructions. I told him if he, the president, wanted to give instructions, he'd do it himself and I would follow to the latter. I told him that he, Kibet, was taking advantage of his position to collect money from people to clear appointments. So I told Kibet not to bring corruption into my office. If he wanted to do that, he should go to the president's office, and I relay the same message to the president. That is former Deputy President Riggy G. He says, State House rogues, hatchet men. Hawa ni busy bodies, errand boys, they're meddling.
I've seen a video online that's now trending, it's gone viral, of Farouk Kibet appearing to push or shove one of the cabinet secretaries, wale expert cabinet secretaries, from the red carpet that was just about to be used by the president. Jamaa alikuwa amesahau akaenda kupanda alitolewa hapa.
I haven't seen that.
Well, I don't know how recent, I don't know, because the video is not dated, so I don't know any details about it. But it's a video, you never know.
Well,
so, kuna artificial intelligence, anything could happen.
AI, we blame the AI. Yes. Other stories here, how murdered drug baron built empire. This is a story of Yusuf Swaleh. He died last year around March. And he inherited the Akashi's drug network. And as youth turned into zombies, his family grew a multi-million business in Muturi and Kilifi areas. So far, those properties have been taken by the state. On business news, bad loans hit a record 700 billion, and the CBK faces a growing policy dilemma as a surge in bad loans across key sectors threatens to undermine its efforts to spur lending. Drama festivals still ongoing in Nakuru. We see a photo here of Londiani boys given a very big space here. They say they shed light on road carnage with jinxed junction film. We see Buruburu Girls, Oloil Lamutai Primary. Yes, Muturi Girls High School also here. This is a very, very interesting one. If you love drama, this one you will love, the one from Muturi Girls. That's the standard.
Before we leave the standard, the back page is talking about the UEFA Champions League. Today, the second leg of the quarterfinals, or the second part of the quarterfinals. The games will be played today. That's Paris Saint-Germain versus Aston Villa at 10 p.m. and Barcelona facing Borussia Dortmund at 10 p.m. But jana, the big game, Arsenal hosting Real Madrid. Arsenal walifanya kazi sawa.
Watashinda hiyo ligi.
Bao 3 bila jibu. Wale watu wa Man U walikuwa naongea hapa, wale watu wa Europa walikuwa naongea hapa sana. Wanasema bado mgoje the other round atakuwa Bernabeu, sijui kutageuka nini. Bao 3 mbele. Champions League. Talking about champions. Tuangazie gazeti la Taifa Leo. IEBC maswali tele. Dukuduku inasema kuna majina 6 mapya yamejumuishwa katika orodha. Jopo la chuja zaidi ya watu 105 kwa nafasi 6 na kuongeza muda kijanja. You see now this is sinister. Maswali yameanza kuibuka kuhusu uadilifu na uhalali wa mchakato unaoendelea wa uteuzi wa mwenyekiti wa makamishna wa Tume Huru ya Uchaguzi na Mipaka IEBC. Hii ni baada ya kubainika kuwa majina ya watu 6 yalipenyezwa kwenye orodha ya watu 105 wanaosailiwa kujaza nafasi 6 za makamishna wa tume hiyo. So kuna watu 6 hawakuwa hapo initially. Kwa hivi ndani. We'd like to know the names so that tujue will they eventually end up as the commissioners. Vidokezo zaidi, Muturi sasa apokonywa walinzi wake. Aliyekuwa waziri asema walinzi wake wawili waliondolewa bila maelezo yoyote. Remember amekuwa speaker. Kumbuka amekuwa speaker wa bunge kwa miaka 10 na basi anafaa kukuwa na ulinzi baada ya kustaafu. Kwingineko, fujo baada ya mwanachuo kuvamiwa kuni Egerton. Taharuki Egerton baada ya mwanafunzi wa kike kudungwa kisu na kujeruhiwa vibaya. This case has continued to be reported. Kwingineko, masuala ya Sudan Kusini amkana raia wa DR Congo. Wizara yafafanua mwanamume aliyefurushwa Amerika ni raia wa DRC. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa 8. Pale juu, mgao wa mahakama wapunguzwa. Idara yakatiwa mgao kwa shilingi bilioni 15 kwenye bajeti ya mwaka unaokuja, mwaka 2025-2026. Na pale masuala ya ligi ya mabingwa kule Europa, usiku wa UEFA Barca na Dortmund, Borussia watakuwa ugenini Uhispania leo usiku kucheza na miamba Barcelona. Gazeti la Taifa Leo.
All right, Daily Nation. Puzzle of 6 names added to IEBC shortlist. They applied for jobs, weren't shortlisted, but were invited for interviews. Fred umesema pale, would love to know the names.
Imagine naona
wako hapa. They say we have Hassan Noor Hassan, Jibril Mali Mohammed, Mike Michaels, Ben Oliel, Charles Kipyegon Mutai, Stephen Kibet Ngeno, Joel Muite Daniel. They are on the spot. The IEBC selection panel introduced 6 extra names to the final list of candidates just days to the start of interviews for the vacant positions of the electoral agency's chairperson and members, raising eyebrows and questions as to the integrity of the ongoing recruitment.
And you know, this thing they published, all the names, all the 105. The 11 shortlisted candidates for the position of chairperson were also published on the dailies. So you can actually go back and confirm if at all these 6 names were initially shortlisted. And if at all, how did they end up on the shortlist for interviews?
Wanashinda wamesema the media were inciting. Lakini evidence iko kwa karatasi.
Iko kwa karatasi tafadhali.
Yes, and you know, we were supposed to have a report, I think, next week, April. It has been pushed around 20th
of May. Yes.
20th of May. Other stories here. Payback question, Muturi security withdrawn. Justin Muturi is quoted here saying they were to and were withdrawn last night, that is on Monday, and reasons were not given. I am entitled to them under the Retirement Benefits, Deputy President and Designated State Officer Act. Now, 2 security officers attached to former Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi have been withdrawn without explanation. According to the former Speaker of the National Assembly, Mr. Muturi confirmed to the nation yesterday, this newspaper, that his security detail had been withdrawn despite being entitled to bodyguard under the Retirement Benefits Act as a former Speaker of the National Assembly. He says maybe it was withdrawn due to his remarks that the president is irredeemably corrupt.
Yes.
We need 98,000 new tutors. TSC shocker on teacher shortage crisis. They're dishing out TSC letters, lakini there's a teacher shortage. They say crisis caused by budgetary constraints and lack of trained tutors for new subjects. That is according to TSC Chief Nancy Macharia, talking to Parliament yesterday. She's quoted here saying the lack of an adequate budget to recruit teachers has led to teacher shortages in public schools. Therefore, impeding the right to access basic quality education enshrined under Article 43 of the Constitution, universities and colleges. Like Uhuru, Ruto turns to military on projects, and President William Ruto has turned to the military to help complete stalled projects, contradicting his past criticism of his predecessor's move to deploy the KDF in such ventures. Matters devolution, governors fight court freeze on bursary funds, and governor says the decision has disrupted their education sponsorship programs and plead with the court to temporarily lift the order at least until the end of the financial year on June 30. And that's the Daily Nation.
On the Star, matters politics, and coming from the Mount Kenya tour of President William Ruto, they say Ruto Riggy G Wars. Mount Kenya party quits KK. Farmers Party accuses president of dishonesty. What exactly is happening in Kenya Kwanza? Yes? The story is on page 4 and 5, and this party belongs to one Irungu Nyakera, who was a chairperson of the KICC board. He was relieved of his duties through a special gazette notice last week, and now you see days later he has quit the party. Should we expect more of the same from other members of the Kenya Kwanza, initial Kenya Kwanza coalition parties? Remember, the Democratic Party, which Justin Muturi was a member, also wrote to the Kenya Kwanza and the Register of Political Parties indicating its intention to exit the coalition. So what exactly is happening within Kenya Kwanza? Other stories on the front page given prominence on the Star. Emotions ran high as 6 family members are buried in Gilgil. These are 6 family members who perished. A father and quite a number of his children who perished in an accident on the Maimahiu-Naivasha road some weeks back. Very sad story there. You can read more on page 7. I knew she would return, says mom of slain student. There's Sylvia, a mom to Sylvia. Triza Kwamboka at a house in Kawangware. The story is on page 20. Let me just give you the details. Kidogo too. So that to get...
The lady who was killed at the Multimedia University, Rongai.
Oh, yes. The Multimedia University in Rongai, yes. Who was found strangled.
Strangled by Hoodie Kamba. Kamba ile hood. You know, dragged, put in a suitcase, dragged to another block. The guy slept on that suitcase overnight as a pillow, woke up in the morning, dragged it on the rooftop of a certain block, then dumped it there. Akaweka mawe juu ya hiyo tank na akafunga na waya. Na akapeleka simu ya Sylvia as an offertory in a church in town.
Where?
Yes.
Serious news. You can read more on that on page 20 of the Star. Police oversight broken time for radical overhaul. Some of those stories on the inside pages. This is a Star, fresh, different, independent, or rather fresh, independent, different. Grab yourself a copy of the Star today.
All right. People Daily, new dose of reforms in Ruto's SHA. Apparently, they have done something about the benefit package. And they say the government has moved to address the public pressure on the implementation of the Social Health Insurance Fund and agreed to enhance the packages provided under the fund. They say here that there is a cabinet retreat coming this April, show that beneficiaries will be entitled to the enhanced benefits package under SHIF, and that includes packages zile za oncology, ICU, and while access to primary healthcare and emergency chronic and critical illness funds is to be given to all Kenyans. That is 228,000 benefit package. Echoes of War on the way as Yauni Yo steals the show at drama festivals. Echoes of War is a play by Butere Girls, written by Cleophas Malala, addressing the issues that took place on June 2024.
I'll make a picture of students from Kenya Institute of Mass Communication on Ijita, the powerhouse. The powerhouse. When I perform some Luya cultural dance. I think I like the way People Daily has given prominence to the drama festival.
TSC fights politicians' role in teacher hiring expose. Wamesema pia wana walimu hapo.
Okay.
And the state withdraws Muturi security. We already talked about that. And inside Trump hunt for DRC minerals. That story is on page 16 of the People Daily.
Finish off with the Business Daily. U.S. raises alarm about Kenyan fake title deeds is the main story there. The U.S. government has raised the alarm about a renewed surge of fake title deeds in Kenya, dealing a reputational blow to the country in the race for foreign direct investment. There's a report from the Office of the U.S. State's Trade Representative, USTR, which serves as President Donald Trump's primary advisor on trade. Some bogus land ownership documents is a barrier for investments in Kenya. So the other story, CBK makes triple cuts to force cheaper bank loans. The central bank, yes, released its monetary policy document yesterday, and it has made triple cuts on key interest rates in a bid to force commercial banks to lower lending rates and stimulate the economy. Will this happen? Wait to see. Kerosene consumption drops to a new low as Kenyans pick options. That's another story there. Plan to raise minimum capital for foreigners 4 times dropped, and Treasury targets an extra 10 billion shillings from tap sale of bond. That's business.
Tuangalie masuala ya caricature before that.
Yes, once again, Joe Nyoto, Senator, Tabitha Mutinda, Senator, and MP Didmas Barasa will be in studio starting at 6:30 this morning.